introduces recovery concepts to the female inmates while they are behind bars and continues to provide badly needed support when they get out. The approach to recovery from alcohol and/or drug addictions, a key to success on the outside, relies heavily on recovery coaches, those whose support carries enormous credibility because they once walked that walk. In this magazine piece, we meet several female inmates, including Tara Dorsey, who, at the time this was written, was taking classes in the prison to become a recovery coach. She says at the time she's determined to head in a new direction when she's released, and her association with the pop-up center and the recovery courses had empowered her to do just that. It is evident, a judge commented, that Casey Nilsson did a lot of reporting, a lot of listening, and a lot of thinking before she sat down to write. As a result, readers understand far better how substance abuse and criminal activity are linked and why recidivism is a real problem. Casey's story kind of includes a cliffhanger. When it was published about a year ago now, Tara Dorsey was 1 month from release. Would she complete the requirements and pass the test for recovery coach? Would she remain clean? Readers are left to quietly root her on. Well, that's why it's really extra special that we can ask Tara Dorsey to come up here. She is a new state-certified recovery coach, and she is here to present the award to Casey.
Good morning. Well, it's not every day that you hear a story of recovery in the media, let alone from behind the walls in prison. One of the big questions in the recovery community, even here in the world, is do people recover and leave in prison? Well, I stand here today as a result of a woman who served a 12-year sentence in prison. I now work for the Anchor Recovery Community Center. But I want to tell a story on how Casey's story had offered me forgiveness. A few months ago, at my job, a woman walked into the center, Anchor Recovery Community Center, and said, "Can I speak to you, please?" And I said, "Who are you?" She said, "Cheryl Burns, the victim of your crime." And I got nervous, and I said, "Yes." She said, "I read your article in Rhode Island Monthly." She said, "I didn't know that your life was so hard. I didn't know that you faced the struggles that you did." She said, "But I read the article, and now I understand, and I want you to go on with your life. And I forgive you." And I cried, and I said, "Thank you. That's all I wanted. I always wanted to meet you one day." But it was because of the article in Casey and Rhode Island Monthly that I was able to have the gift of forgiveness in my life. I would also like to thank Jim Gillen, Holly Sakala, and my manager and friend, Michelle, who's here today, who been behind me tooth and nail in this recovery process. It's not easy. And when I left the prison, the deputy came to me and she said, "Tara, the world is waiting for you to fail." And I said, "Well, okay, like I'm gonna prove them different." So today I work for Anchor. I am a recovery coach at Anchor, and I help men and women who have been where I've been. So it's not easy, but I'm standing here today, a few women, to present Casey the award, and thank you, Casey, so much.
First, I'd like to thank Rhode Island for Community and Justice for this great honor. I'd also like to thank my photographer, Ryan Connedy, and my colleagues at Rhode Island Monthly for their help with the clean release. But my biggest thanks goes to Jim Gillen, Holly Sakala, and of course Tara Dorsey of Anchor Recovery Community Center. By chance last year, I learned about Dry Dock, Anchor's pop-up recovery community center inside the women's minimum security prison. I found it fascinating that this new community building program could connect inmates with resources that promoted a life in recovery on the outside. With help from the Providence Center, which runs Anchor, I was able to visit Dry Dock and speak with the women who, without earning any good time, spent their evenings learning about addiction. In their notes, the Metcalf judges implied that I had to earn the inmates' trust before they shared their stories. And prior to meeting Tara, I'd interviewed several women, some of whom, yes, took some time to open up. But Tara was different. We sat down at a cafeteria table. She looked in my eyes and she bared all. It was clear that by speaking the truth, she was holding herself accountable. And she's still doing it today. Since Tara was released last spring, she became a certified recovery coach, as she mentioned, and that group was recently honored at the State House for their contributions to the fight against addiction. Tara also popped up in another story of mine about Everett Company's The Freedom Project, a documentary theater piece about mass incarceration. Again, she shared her past with strangers and spread awareness about addiction and recovery. We all have high hopes for ourselves, but how often do you come across someone who follows through with such force? Tara's honesty is brave, humbling, and contagious. No city or state is exempt from the ravages of incarceration, recidivism, and addiction. They've destroyed entire communities. And these epidemics seem impossible to beat individually, never mind all at once. But Tara, Jim, Holly, and others at Anchor, including Michelle, are still plugging away, and they're still affecting change in Rhode Island, one person at a time, no matter where she lives or what she's done. Everybody gets a chance to survive. Thank you, everybody.